One thing that's a concern for a lot of people is if the power goes down, how are you going to heat your place? How are you going to get heat to be able to keep you and your family warm? Of course, a lot of people have wood stoves, fireplaces, gas logs, natural gas, even Generac home generators, and you may have a generator. But today we're going to take a look at the Mr. Heater, and this is the Big Buddy. These have become very popular and a lot of good reasons. One of the things though that's a big question in a lot of people's mind, is it safe to use indoors? We're going to test that out as well. I do have a carbon monoxide tester and we're going to do some testing with it. We're going to probably do a little bit more extensive testing coming up, but I've done a lot of research and according to Mr. Heater, these are inside safe. But you do need to have a little bit of ventilation. A lot of people use these for ice fishing, they use them in RVs, they use them for tent camping. And so with that, having just a little bit of fresh air coming in is a big plus. Also, what are the run times on this? This Big Buddy will go on the low setting for about 12 hours. And it uses 2 of the 16-ounce or 1-pound propane canisters. And so that'll give you a good idea of the amount, and that's 4,000 BTU. Up on medium, it goes for 9,000 BTU per hour, and then when you get to the high setting, it's 18,000 BTU. If it gets really cold, it'd be great to have these to turn them up, but you're going to use quite a few of these bottles. These are about $5 to $6 a piece, according to where you buy them. There is an adapter where you can use your 20-pound can. Now that will go, obviously, for 2 or 3 days. And really, if the power's out for a couple of days, this would be a better option. There are some pitfalls, we're going to look at that, but this is really easy to set up. And what I do recommend is if you're looking into the 20-pounder, that you get one of their Mr. Heater cables. And we'll talk about that in just a minute. So first off, let's go ahead and get this thing set up, see how it runs, and then we'll talk about some of the specifics. Because one of the things is you want to be safe. And when you're talking about heat, you're talking about propane, and you're talking about gas and carbon monoxide, you want to be safe. Now there are a number of different models. This is the Big Buddy. They do make the regular Buddy, and that one has only 1 canister. This one uses 2. And there are 2 doors on either side, and these just house your canisters. The size is actually 17 inches in height, it's 12 inches wide, and it's about 9 to 10 inches deep. So it's really a portable heat source, and that's one of the big things. Got a handle on it. Really solid construction. This is a metal cage in the front, and you can remove this and take it off if you want. You need to clean. So it's really a very user-friendly heater. And of course, it's got the red and the black color. Also, we have a control knob right here, and we'll take a look at that as well. Now your input valve is a regulator, so you do have a regulator attached. It does swivel, so we can push this out and we can attach our cans. So you take it, add it, and then you just screw it on. Now sometimes you can use some Teflon tape around the threads, and that really helps, but real simple to be able to tighten this down. And you really want to get it good and hand tight because you don't want that propane leaking, because you can get sick on propane just like you can on the carbon monoxide. And really you just want to get it hand tight. Now once you get it installed, take a little bit of Windex and you look for bubbles. And if we don't see any kind of bubbles coming out here, that means that we're good to go. And of course, obviously, you want to wipe all that off. Some people will use Dawn dishwashing detergent with some water, and they'll put it on there to see if the bubbles will appear. I really like this swing out feature. And then it just goes in, and then you can close it. And here on the other side, do the same. Now you can use just 1 canister if you need to, so you're not limited with having to have 2 cans. Again, you just want to get that good and hand tight. Test it. You see any bubbles? And we don't. Wipe that off. And close it up. Now here you have your control knobs, of course off. Press down to turn for pilot. And what you want to do is leave it on pilot and hold it for about 30 seconds or 20 seconds. And what you're doing is getting the gas to fill in the lines to be able to light your pilot. So at this point right now, we've just got it held down. Now we're going to lift it up. Now we're going to press down again. Then we hit the pilot. So we turn it off and then turn it on. Now you'll notice right here at the bottom, the pilot light has come on. And we're going to hold this for about 20 seconds to let it get set, let all the fuel come in. And it will definitely be very obvious when that pilot light is lit. Now we're going to go ahead and just turn it. Now we let it go and the pilot light stays lit. If for some reason the pilot light goes out, you just repeat the process. Then we're going to push it down and turn it. In fact, you don't have to even push it down. Now we went ahead and went straight to high. And we're going to let those ceramic panels light up. Even though they're not lit up, you can really feel the radiant heat coming off of that thing. I mean, it is coming on strong. Now we're going to turn off the light just to let you see so far. Oh yeah, that is really glowing. And it's going to build up even more. Now there's some safety features to this. One of them is a tilt feature. So if this gets tilted up to 45 degrees any direction, it will shut off automatically. There's also an oxygen detection sensor. And if the oxygen gets to a certain low level, it will shut off automatically. So that is also a big plus. If you're sleeping at night, this thing's running and your oxygen levels really get down, this will just shut off. But you really need to have a carbon monoxide tester. This also tests propane. There's a number of different ones that you can get, and this one does have a reading on it. But right now it is in green and it's right here at the heater. Now, one of the things about carbon monoxide is that it's lighter than air, so it's going to rise. And so that's one thing you want to make sure that this is doing fine. Now, in the building we're in, this will heat up to 450 square feet of area. And of course, you know, smaller spaces too. But one of the things about it, it's probably about 400 square feet. And to be honest, I don't have it vented because I want to see if this will go off. We also have just one of the generic carbon monoxide testers, and we'll have those running as well. One thing about propane as well is if there is a leak, you can also smell it. It kind of has a really methane type smell to it. And so that way, if you start smelling that, you'll know that there is an issue. Guys, I'm going to tell you, this thing is putting out a lot of heat. And we're going to turn it down to medium just to see how it reacts. And so we're going to one panel, so it's shutting off one panel. And now we're going to go down to low. You push it down to turn it, whoops. Make sure we keep it on that low setting. And that just uses that one burner and it tones it down. It's just feeding it less fuel. So again, guys, with this, you can go for 12 hours on low. And then again, if you want to bump it up to 3 hours with the 2 canisters. Man, guys, even that is putting out a lot of heat. On the low setting, go up to the medium setting, and then we're going to go up to the high setting. There's a lot of people that have used these for a long time and they just really work well. In fact, one of my best buddies, he does ice fishing up in Minnesota, and he said they use these in those small little ice huts and they're great. Now guys, one of the things about propane is that it does cause condensation. So if you leave this on, it can kind of raise the humidity. And so that's one of the reasons why you want to open up a window, just to give it a little bit extra air. Plus it gives you a little bit of extra air and peace of mind. And so this really works well to be able to use this and still have it safe with the window open, and it'll keep the condensation down. Because that just introduces more oxygen into your environment, into your space. But man, this is warm. I mean, this is super warm. It's radiant heat. And so it just gives it that nice glow to it. The cage on the front is going to keep anything from falling on it and starting a fire. And again, if this thing tilts, which we're going to try it, there it went. It just shut down. And so if you drop it or if it falls, you don't have to worry about it catching on fire. And so another great feature. And again, it does have the oxygen sensor, which will shut this down if there's low oxygen in the building. Now guys, when it comes to a 20-pound can, of course, obviously this is 20 of those 1-pound sizes. So it's definitely going to give you quite a lot more length of time, days over just 12 hours on low. Really, I mean, this could go for a week, week and a half to 2 weeks. And so that's one thing that really is a big advantage with the big propane canisters. One thing they say is if you're going to use this, you need to have this outside. So you have it running outside, you have your hose. Now, one of the things about the hoses, especially if you're directly attaching this to the heater buddy, the hoses that they make are oil free. And one of the things about it, if you get a standard propane hose, they have oils inside. And so with that, you're going to need a filter. But according to Mr. Heater, you can use this without the filter. Now, one of the problems is if you have oil in your hose and it goes into the heater buddy, it's going to clog it up and it's going to mess it up. So you're not going to be able to use it. So you want to make sure that you have a good solid hose. And I just highly recommend getting the Mr. Heater Buddy hose. Some of the older versions were not as oil-free as the new ones, but the new ones are really just excellent. They're a little bit more expensive, but honestly, these are great to use. But we are going to be putting an oil filter on ours just because we just want to be careful. We'll go ahead and we're going to pull off this canister. And of course, this is the same way you would do if you refilled it. Now we're going to take one end of our hose and we're going to go ahead and attach it. This has a knurled little area right here. Now I can smell a little bit of the propane that's escaped, but again, you just want to get this good and hand tight. Now we have a coupling with a gasket on here, so that goes inside, and you want to do left-hand thread, so you've got to do it the opposite direction. Again, if you want to use Teflon tape on this, it works really well. Now there was a collar that fit on here that turned this even more. If I do get any propane, I can take a wrench, but I really don't need to. This should be hand tight. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to open up our can, our 20-pound tank, but then we're going to test it. No bubbles. And same here. No bubbles. You definitely don't want to use anything that's flammable when you're testing this. WD-40 is not a good option. Now when we're using the 20-pound can, we've got to get gas all the way around this hose. So it takes a couple of minutes to get that going. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to turn it. And then we're just going to hold it. So here we just got it held down. We're going to hold it down for about 2 minutes. All right, guys, once I got everything set up, we had a little interruption. It's called Christmas Eve dinner. So I came back, I have it reset up. A couple of things though that I found, because it took me a while to get this started. Once I set it on the pilot and I pushed it down and I let the pilot get started. And then I would try to move it immediately and the pilot would just go out as soon as I let go of it. And so one of the things is holding it down long enough to allow for that fuel to go, again, all the way from here to here and through this tube. And so it does take a few minutes. So don't give up. But one thing that I found is that if I let the pilot run for a while, which we've done, the pilot's been going now for probably 5 minutes. I just left it. I think it's going to make it easier to set this when we go to low all the way up to high. But again, guys, don't give up on this tank. I mean, once you get this started, you know, it will light and it'll give you a lot more capability. So here you can see the pilot light is going, and again, it's been going on for about 5 minutes. So now we're going to move it from pilot. We're just going to go to our first setting. Now we're on low right now, so it's just going to be doing this one panel on the right. We're going to go ahead and move it up. We're going to go all the way up to high. And we've got it going. Takes a few minutes, obviously, to get those panels hot, but they will glow. Guys, this thing puts out an amazing amount of heat, and I'll tell you, I mean, it's almost too hot to stand in here. So really setting it on high is going to give you a lot of heating capability. If we turn it down to low, again, guys, this is going to go for at least 12 hours, and there's still a lot of heat that this puts out. With the 20-pound tank, we're going to get a massively extended time period. Now we've got this running on high, and we've got our carbon monoxide tester right here, and also it tests for propane. And so we're going to go ahead and leave this running just to see what we get. I'm going to leave for a little while and come back. And I can also check the levels. If this has a peak level and then it goes down, it'll record it on here. So we're going to check that out when we get back, because we want to make sure that this is safe, especially indoors. Now, I'm not going to have a vent. I'm going to leave it just as it is. This building is about 12 by 24, and it is insulated, so It's going to get pretty warm in here, but we just want to make sure that these levels are safe. All right, guys, we just got back in here. We've been gone for a little over an hour. It's hot as blue blazes in here with it on high. Again, this is about a 12 by 24 room. So, and it is sealed, insulated, the windows closed. We had no ventilation. With the first alert, I'm going to go ahead and hit and see if there were any readings at all. And it's just showing up a big 0. So nothing set it off. This also has that low oxygen sensor that'll shut it off as well, and we didn't have that. And guys, there's been a lot of testing out there with these, and they just work well. Again, really optimal. You want to crack a window, just have it open a little bit, allow for a little bit of airflow, mainly to run the propane. So, but that'll just be a little bit on the safe side. And the price on these are $89.99. If you're part of their buyers club, you get it for $80.99. I did purchase this directly from Sportsman's Guide. They didn't send it because I really wanted to try this out. Now there is the Mr. Heater Buddy, which has the 1 can. And it's going to give you less performance, but yet, you know, it's still great in a pinch. Just make sure you have a lot of these extra cylinders. And again, $4 to $5. The hose to connect to the 20-pound tank was about $18. And I would recommend getting the Mr. Heater hose, and that way you don't need a filter to put on it because those oils can mess up your Mr. Heater. So guys, I feel like this is a viable heat source. In fact, we got one for my parents and also for my son to keep in their place. There are some dangers of power going out through the winter, and so it's really important to have some kind of backup. And I think this makes a great one. These have been around for a long time. And also you can use these for RV camping, for tent camping. You know, there's a lot of uses. You may have an old shed, you may just want to warm it up while you're working. One thing I would recommend, if you're buying this as an emergency heat source, use it separately. Try it out, put it in that old shed and see how it warms things up and get a good idea of how this works. Because guys, I'll tell you, I love it. I think it's going to be a great resource. One thing I would say is that if you're in the home and you don't have any other heat source and the power's out, is to get into a smaller room. But just remember just to crack that window a little bit and give yourself some ventilation. I think that's just going to be a key. But we've seen, even in this building here in my shop, you know, we didn't have any kind of issues with carbon monoxide, and for that matter, even the propane. It just held up well. So these have been proven. The company's behind keeping this in. Now, I got this, I actually bought it off of Sportsman's Guide, and I did use my $20 off every $100 purchase, and it's just SOOTCH. And so if you want to get 20 extra bucks off, and then again, you know, you can get with their buyers club and you get free shipping. So this is a great source for me, and I think it just fits a lot of roles. It's one of those things. As preppers, a lot of times we get our stuff, we put it back. Get your things out, test it out beforehand, because you want to know how it works when you're not, you know, behind the 8 ball. And that way you'll be good to go. Be strong, be of good courage. God bless America. Long live the Republic. Guys, we had a little bit of an interruption once I hooked up, because it was dinner time, so we're having another interruption. I have heard up to a couple of days. I don't know if that's true, probably isn't. I don't know what I'm talking about. So now we're going to check and just see when it's all the way on. I haven't even turned it to the settings yet, so we're going to check that. I'm going to sound that bull crap. Bull crap, bull crap.